Mercury, the messenger of the gods, is heading direct at last. This is going to feel like a relief. Some area of your life that has been on pause or hold or setback or revise, or even as if things have gone back in time instead of forward in the Leo part of your sky, is about to launch forward after the 3-week retrograde period. And we're going to talk about how this movement of Mercury forward isn't just about his movement forward now as we go through the Leo season, but also how this movement forward is deeply connected to another cycle that Mercury is embedded within, and that is the cycle connected to his elemental fire year. You're not going to see this cycle for another 7 years, so it really does matter that this is your last chance saloon in a story of Mercury moving you through energetic shifts connected to initiative, daring, boldness, initiative, courage in each of our lives. And this is relative to the fire houses in your chart. So in today's all signs video, I want you to settle in, get a cup of tea or a glass of wine, and we're going to cover how this movement of Mercury through the sign of Leo in direct motion beginning on August 10th or 11th, time zone dependent, is going to move you forward in an area that you have been waiting to know which direction to go in. And now you are ready to take the leap, make the move. And in Leo, of course, with the courage of the heart, that is what the lion is all about. Now you know what you need to do, and your courageous heart is ready to go forward in love, in career, in home life, in work, in friendships, whatever the area of the sky that your Leo whole sign house is forming in your natal chart based on your sun sign, moon sign, or rising. So let's go ahead and do the all signs delineation. And today I'm adding an oracle deck to this mix, and that is going to be the Power deck by Lynn Andrews. And I just got this brand new deck today. And the whole point is that with the astrology, we can also use a divinatory tool, and they both work together. Astrology is indeed a tool of divination. So this will be a collaborative effort between me and this oracle. However, I'll definitely be delineating the astrology first and foremost and adding this as an extra add-on feature. So if you like this kind of all signs content, we're deeply focused on this all signs video for you today. This is not going to really cover a lot of world astrology, but I will bring up some of it. I can definitely say that the Leos of the world are activated, and the Leo rising nation of Iran, the Leo potentially nation of Palestine, the Leo of Donald Trump, maybe even J.D. Vance, Leonine energies. Prime Minister Modi of India is a Leo, the president or prime minister, but you know what I mean. So Leonine characters in the story of our reality have a huge energetic waking up, moving forward, getting on something that they've been kind of either stuck on or procrastinating on. So for example, Donald Trump has been long promising to end the wars. Yeah. But anyway, the war in Ukraine, for example, with Russia, well, as I'm speaking, there is a pending meeting between him and Putin to see if they can collaborate to close that war down finally and at last. Now, with Mercury going direct at last in the sign of Leo, the rising sign of Donald Trump, and the ruler of his Gemini sun, there is some hope for at least one of these campaign promises to bear fruit and to come true. So let's go ahead and look at the sky. Let me show you what it looks like. Let's go ahead and remember that the last time Mars spent 6 months out of a year lagging in retrogradation and signs of fire, which are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, was 2017 and 2018. And we've been seeing the same pattern again in 2024, and then again in 2025. And then we won't see it again for another 7 years. So in this regard, we can also note that you Aries, sun, moon, and risings, you Leo, sun, moon, and risings, you Sag, sun, moon, and risings have been really, really activated by Mercury last year and finishing up this year. And it can kind of compare to 2017 and 18 cycles of activation of your fire signs in your chart. And your whole sign house is connected to that fire element. How do you listen today? For your sun sign, it's like your deep, essential, true nature, your core self, your soul, if you like, okay? How do you listen for your moon? It can represent matters of home and homeland. And how do you listen to things to do with your home, domestic life, private life, homeland? And if you're listening for your rising sign, it is anything about you in the simulation, for it is your character's avatar. And, you know, if you look at all Leos, they have the beards and the great hair, Leo risings, and sometimes Leo suns, right? And Donald Trump with his hair, J.D. Vance with his beard. You're going to find we tend to kind of look like the archetypal character of the rising sign. The rising sign is how you are playing like it's in a simulation or video game, a character or an avatar. It's not the deepest essence of you. That's your sun sign. But we live our lives on two levels, the soul, the sun, or the character, the rising sign. So listen for both. They can both be accurate. The moon sign, how do you feel about life? What do you think and feel about this whole game that you're in the middle of? And honestly, things that happen connected to the moon sign will often indicate changes in the home. When we talk about your sun and moon instead of rising, we pretend we move the sun to the first house in the sign it is when you were born. We pretend we move the moon to the lugna, or the first house or the helm of the chart. So it's a derived house system reading. Already, that's how it is done. And as you listen today, if you don't know your rising sign, check out my free video tutorial in my description box under the video. Just scroll to the bottom, and it's called How to Cast Your Chart in Whole Sign Houses. And it does allow you to find your own rising sign as well as find what your whole sign house looks like, which is the ancient house tradition, which is way more accurate. Once you go whole sign, you'll never go back. Can't use ancient Time Lord tools correctly without whole sign houses. So once you learn why and how you should be using whole sign houses, often most people never go back. All right, I'm just pretty well religious about that whole thing. So let me show you the sky. Let me show you what Leo Mercury is up to and where you might want to look for where everything's got stuck for the last 3 weeks and how they're just about to jump forward. This video is coming out on a Sunday, and on Monday I'll be talking yet again about the conjunction of Jupiter and Venus in the sign of Cancer. My video that's already out, it's really doing well, 65,000 views, maybe 67. Go check that out. It's pinned to the top of my channel. On the video for the week ahead astrology, I'll be delineating other elements of the sky, including some asteroids that I didn't do in the very first video. The very first video on that conjunction is useful because it really is going to initiate a 2-year run of luck for all of us: expansion, growth, goodness, harmony, luck, wonderful energy in the Cancer part of our sky. And it's a humdinger on this dog star Sirius. Okay, but today's video coming out on a Sunday is going to be about the new shift of Mercury heading direct after 3 weeks of retrograde, and where things are finally moving forward in the Leo part of your sky with the deeper clarity and understanding that Mercury's given you, so that you can use your courageous lion heart to make the choices, take the actions, and do the things needed, especially regarding contracts, negotiations, documents, conversations, and ideas, things that Mercury is the natural ruler of. Let me show you the sky so you can see what it looks like. And we'll start, of course, as always, with Aries. I almost forgot to mention that I'm teaching Sky Reader this fall. Every year I teach this class 6 weeks long live with me. Sky Reader, be your own astrologer, time your best life. I would love to teach you how to delineate your sky, read your own natal charts, read the sky of your chart, and be able to use some timing tools from ancient astrology that are very, very simple and relatively easy to learn, I promise you. And if you're into learning to understand your chart, but also predict things for yourself, move in flow of reality, not against it, to time your best life, then please join me this fall. The class date hasn't quite been set. I've been moving. I've been having some other things to deal with in my life, and it may move to early October instead of a mid-September start date. Be patient with me, guys, but the early bird discount waitlist below gets you a discount activation code that you won't get unless you sign up for that early bird discount code down below. You're on a wait list, and I'll notify you when the enrollment card is open. So, and the course description is in the link below as well. All right, just bear with me on that. I've never delayed a class so long in my life, but 3 or 4 months of moving and a bunch of other things I'm not caught up on because of relocation, amongst other things, is making it a little more challenging for me to want to jump into 6 weeks of teaching in September. It might start October 1st. Okay, let's get going and let's look at this chart for you. And I think you might enjoy this. I forgot to say I was going to share it, but this gives you the sort of the big picture view so that you can make a contextual arrangement in your brain about what's going on with Mercury, right? And so Mercury basically entered on June 30th, what we call his retrograde pre-shadow zone. And that means he was moving forward at 4 degrees of Leo in the sign of Leo, where he started to move, I think around, can't remember exactly the date, maybe, but anyway, 6 to 7 days earlier. He was in Leo, and then all of a sudden he hit the 4th degree. And now that's a critical turning point energetic, because that's where he stations direct again and turns direct on August the 11th. So in essence, I want you to think of it this way. Mercury was doing something back around the time of June the 30th when he was at 4 Leo. And that time was passing between basically June the 30th and July 18th, as he made it all the way to 15 degrees of Leo. And then he had a turnaround moment and said, uh-oh, shoot, there's something I need to do. I've got to go back and get it. And then on August 10th, 11th, time zone dependent, he will turn direct at the 4-degree Leo mark. That takes him back in time. It's as if Mercury traveled back over old time ground that he'd already traveled. You could say that he had to look at revising and revisioning between July 18th, right, to August 11th. Between July 18th to August 11th, Mercury had to go back and revise stuff he was working on June 30th to July 18th. So it's kind of like, to make it simple, for the first 18 days or so, in essence, of July, there was something preoccupying you, and you thought you knew the direction you would go in the Leo whole sign house in your chart. For like an Aquarius rising, it's our love relationship, primary others, audience, and marketplace. So we would think, okay, I've got this one. I know June the 30th to July 18th. I know what I'm up to. I know exactly what I'm doing here. Got it. And then there was a moment of, let's rethink this, revise, know what's true, get some new understanding. So Mercury paused the whole show at 15 degrees of Leo, halfway through the sign, and went back to investigate what he had been doing for those first 19 or 20 days, June 30th to July 20th. Now he's taken an inventory of what he has already gone through one time. He's reassessed it. Now he's ready to go forward on August the 11th, and he will be moving direct. And by August the 25th, he hits that 15 degrees of Leo. And now we know for sure we are all set to go. There's no shadow zone. There's nothing that could hold you back. It's kind of complete clarity. And it's already clear as of the 4th degree Leo station, August 11th. He already knows what he needs to do. Okay, I want you to understand that, but he's able to do it now. And through to the 15 Leo degree, or also August 25th, this is what we call mopping up, right? He's mopping up stuff from June 30th to July 18th, reinvestigate it. Now he's revising it. So there's kind of a vibe here that by the time you reach August 25th, you're in the clear. Mercury's covering new ground. He's no longer concerned with the stuff he was mucking around with from June 30th to July 18th. He's completely ready, set, go, with that bold, courageous heart, in love, for Aquarius risings, you see, because it will be our 7th house. Sorry about this siren. I moved to a lovely new neighborhood right between a hospital and a fire station. But it's okay. I will work with it. All right. So that's the lay of the land. I hope, was I sharing that with you guys? I just had a bad vision that I was talking to myself and not even sharing the chart. If I wasn't sharing, here it is again, to take a screenshot. I think I was. Take a screenshot now. Okay, I'm getting over, I think, my COVID number 4 or 5. And so I'm not quite all here with my brain power. And it wasn't so bad that everyone's saying, take your ivermectin. No, I mean, honestly, at this point, my immune system's been dealing with it enough times. It's still circulating out there. It's never going to go away. It mutates faster than a bunny rabbit having babies. So we're always going to get a new mutation, and our immune system won't recognize it right away, but our deeper immune system will recognize it. All right, so we're going to start with Aries. We're going to go through all signs. I'm going to delineate what this Mercury retrograde is likely to mean to you based on your sign, based on where the planets are as he stations direct. Please like and subscribe if you like the all signs content. I'm also giving everybody a quickie oracle draw to see where the power is. Where is the power that you are now having with great courage as Mercury heads direct on August the 10th, and even through to the post-shadow time frame, which is the 23rd of August. You are activating some incredible firepower in your sky, leonine, courage, and bold and leaderful energy of the lion and lioness within you, fortified by Mercury and his support. Let's start off with Aries. Just before I show this to you, I want to say that when Mars was stationing retrograde on the beginning at 4 degrees on the 30th of July at 4 degrees of Leo. He was in a beautiful sextile to Venus. And there's a beautiful harmony as he began his retrogradation in that glorious sextile to Venus. And that could also, in Gemini at the time, that could also indicate that he started his retrograde with the desire or the hope to focus on matters to do with prosperity, money, luck, and money, goodness, but also peace and relationship and love and romance, but also peace. Venus is the giver of harmony and balance and peace treaties. And he sextiled her when she was in Gemini, the sign of warring neighbors, warring brothers. And then he went forward again. He stationed retrograde. I'm so sorry. He was at 4 degrees of Leo. Then he was moving forward, and then he stationed retrograde at 15 Leo later on the 18th of July. And now he's gone back to that same degree, 4 degrees of Leo. And there's something we can look at collectively and individually where we were already pondering stories of hope around love and peace and harmony and goodness and romance and prosperity in our lives. And now we're back to that story because of that hookup with Venus. It was almost exact on his 4 degrees of Leo, the point at which this whole thing travels back in time to, which is July 30th through to July 18th. And another thing I noticed back in the day is he almost made a contact point, but he didn't quite get there, of a perfect square to Juno, the goddess of money and moneta. Sometimes she does with coinage and money, but she also deals with agreements, contracts, and vows in marriage and in peace deal making. And he didn't quite hook up to her. He couldn't quite get it. It was a refrainment. They were a degree apart. He made it to that 15 degrees on the 18th of July. And Juno was in Scorpio at 16 degrees, and he couldn't connect with her. So the last thing I want to say in the world astrology is he does actually connect with her, and they finally hook up on August 28th. He will be in a perfect square to Juno. So there is a feeling I have that things to do with peace and peace treaties and wars, Putin is a Scorpio rising, can be fulfilled or completed because of this retrograde. And so my prediction is we will see some kind of peace deal or treaty forming by August 28th or closer to the last week of August, as Mercury does finally no longer refrain from connecting to Juno and activates peace from the sign of Leo, which is Donald Trump's ascendant, and Putin's ascendant is in Scorpio. So Scorpio, Putin, and Trump are coming into an intense conversation, square about peace, but at the same time, Venus will also be in Leo. And so I think peace prevails in Ukraine and Russia because on August 28th, that conflagration of Venus and Leo with this Mercury going direct, now squaring Juno in Putin's rising sign, those two leaders will come together and cobble together some semblance of an end to the Ukraine conflict with Russia. That's my prediction for the world astrology. Now let's go ahead and do your sign. Let me show you the chart for your all signs, and we'll start with Aries. And I'm going to delineate how you can feel this is now a time that I can move forward. I no longer feel like I need to look backwards and revise and rethink things. I'm ready to jump on ahead. There's what I'm talking about. That is Mercury stationing direct on August 11th. It could also be August 10th, depends on your time zone. He happens to be conjunct within minutes, the asteroid Echeclus. This is a story of a centaur, it could be it's E-C-H-E, Clus, Echeclus or Echeclus. This is a centaur rammed in the face and killed with a blunt spear, or rammed in the face with a spear and killed. Okay, so a spear in our modern days can be a weapon, of course, including one that flies through the air, right, like a missile. So that involves Iran, who's a Leo rising. That could involve Palestine. That could involve Trump or Vance or any other Leos. Modi from India for his Leo sun, for example. Whatever, there's something going on there that could be very close to the August 10th, 11th, and 12th timeframe in those parts of the world that have a Leo connection. In the meantime, the other thing to point out is that as he moves forward here, and now he's tracked back, right, to all the way back to matters connected to July the 30th, and he'll be moving forward over ground that we already traveled there, right? He already retrograded forward and backwards and forward. We're ready to mop up and move forward on things that we were considering in our Leo sky, including the world around peace matters, especially in the first 18 days of July. Now we're going to go forward on that. Now watch this as well. I may as well show you what I mean when I say that there's a hope for peace. For those of you who are geeky on the astrology, there is Juno, there is Mercury. As we approach the 28th, he's going to finally make contact with her. He almost did before retrograding, and she is the bringer of peace when it comes to contractual obligations and agreements. So here's the contact forming 21-21 square. It's almost like a hard ass energy. It's urgent, it's demanding, it requires action and decisions to be made. But Venus, the goddess of peace, is in here as well. Now she's with the blunt force asteroid as well. I'll just say that looks very much like missiles. The centaur body Echeclus could be about missiles connected to Leonine nations and countries. So I wouldn't exempt things to do with the Palestine-Israel conflict as well. From this kind of sky, anything is possible. Mars is acting up in the first house of Israel's story, right? Mars is making them more belligerent, as is true when Aries goes through the first, Mars goes through the first sign, the rising sign of any nation, but Mars is also in detriment and way out of balance here. All right, so let's start off with Aries, and we're going to move through your story. I'll move us back to the now, and we'll give Aries the first chance to go. First and always first. Best and always best. I'm a bit deliriously not feeling well from what I think is COVID recovery, so please be nice to me today. And let's start off with Aries, sun, moon, and rising. So Aries, this is a story where I see you looking like you are ready to completely move forward on a creative project of some kind that stagnated for you, because your art, your creativity, anything from writing songs or books or performing or acting or painting, all the artistic talents belong to the fifth house. Also the talents with which you were born that you naturally came by without having to think about it twice. You're just born that way. So if there's been holdups and reconfigurations and recalibrations around creative and or entrepreneurial projects beginning, when he went retrograde on July 18th, things that you thought you were going to move forward on, yippity doo-dah, the end of June, really, like June 26th or so through to July 18th, now you're realizing, you had to go back and rethink it. It wasn't time to do that. For me, for example, it probably was postponing the Sky Reader course, which I've already done, but it would be that project of mine that I was going to go launch to get entrepreneurial off the ground, and realizing I don't think I can do it right now because of other obligations. So there's an example. I'm an Aries sun, which is why I'm bringing it up. Your children belong to the fifth house. And if there's been circumstances that have been going back and forth regarding you and your children, or your children and decisions you need to make about your children, for example, you're getting ready now to make forward momentum on the children narrative, anything to do with your children, really, whether they're adults or children. Romantic love and decisions around romantic love, courage and bold with profoundly high operating system conversations that come from the heart, because this is also the house of one's joy and enthusiasm, pleasure and fulfillment of wonder and innocence. And so there's a childlike nature to the fifth house as well. And in this regard, really profound heart-to-heart conversations regarding romantic partners are very likely. And as Mars is traveling through the house of committed love, there may be a pending separation or breakup or ending in a committed love story. And these kinds of mercurial conversations, heart to heart, wholehearted, whatever you want to call it, are going to be important. I need to move us. I apologize, to the right day. It's still the same story. We'll go August 11th, which is a Monday. Having this story finally happen here is probably a really good sign that you are ready, all of you Aries, to want to give birth to something. You can give birth to a new business, to a new domain, to a new artistic project, to a new entrepreneurial endeavor. But it is a house of birth, and you had to rethink things. You had to go back. You weren't sure. You weren't ready. You had to revise. You had to replan it. And that's stuff you've been working on ever since July the 30th. And now you are ready to move forward. Now, you won't get out of that shadow period fully. Remember, I talked about that shadow period. You don't quite relieve yourself of the shadow period until my brain went offline in Menno brain plus COVID brain, until the shadow period will close out. Post shadow period will close out at, give me a minute. This is probably one of the most disorganized videos I've done in a long time, because I'm feeling kind of unwell and just want to go to bed right now. So give me a sec, because for some reason what I'm trying to do isn't opening up. So I'll just try it again. OMG, you've got to be kidding me, Lori. Okay. August 25th. Yeah. So, August 11th to the 25th. Well, you are moving forward. You're not completely into new territory yet. So be patient with yourself until the 25th, and not to think that you have to, Rome wasn't conquered in a day. A business wasn't built overnight. Your marriage, partnership, separation, or reunion could be that too, from a time of separation. Doesn't have to be, all or nothing, one day event. So August 11th to the 25th, you're now coming into acting on stuff that you had thought you were going to do the first 18, 19 days of July, and now you're ready to go forward. I got the card for you today from this power deck. What is your true power of nurturing? And it's the South in the medicine wheel, which has to do with childhood and innocence and wonder, which makes a lot of sense. What I love about this is that the house of children and childhood is the fifth house. And if you are to nurture yourself, how can you do that? And I'll read it to you, but I'll also remind you that Juno, the goddess of commitment in love and marriage, is being squared from the eighth house of mutually shared assets and resources, and also from the house of money that doesn't come to you directly from the work you do. And there may be some extreme intensities around choosing what to do next regarding financial matters, regarding your children, regarding your creativity and business proposals, regarding your structures for money, including investments or incorporations and taxes. Those may come up for you in August as well. The nurturing card, only we can heal ourselves, sometimes with assistance or sometimes without. Our energy or chakra system corresponds to the energy flow from the earth. If you listen and feel, Mother Earth will heal you as you heal her with the nurturing force of timeless give and take. It's so funny. I'm trying to get a trip off the ground to a riverside cabin, and that's because I need some Mother Earth energy. I'm Aries sun and moon. Prayer enables you to take power out of the mind and then place it in the hands of the earth and sky deities. Try to see through the mirage of social barriers that cloud the eyes of the women and men over the world over. Nurture your dreams. Act in your dreams as you want to act. Find the guarded kivas and sacred places where you have hidden your heart, and nurture your spirit. Well, your heart is Leo, and it's in the creative art, romance, children, and innocence, wonder, and awe. So it does say nurture your spirit, nurture your heart, and heal yourself. If I was giving you a prescription on this, do something creative. Do something artistic, do something that nurtures you in the arts or the creative energies, even if it's a hobby. Do that thing that brings you the satisfaction, pleasure, and joy as Mercury goes direct, but especially between the 11th and the 25th, when he's still in the post-shadow zone. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we are going to do the next sign. And the next sign is always Taurus after this one. So Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. We're going to move you into the narrative, and we have to get ourselves ahead of the curve. So first of all, you're very much interested perhaps with this retrograde in making some changes to do with what you do in and from your home. Now, it's things to do with communication in the home with someone you live with, communication with your mother or your ancestors or your family of origin members, or even communication between roommates, for goodness sakes. But it's the art and act of communicating in the home and private life. And there are also things with Mercury here that can involve commerce and selling. So perhaps some of you have been thinking of negotiating a contract or a deal to buy a home, sell a home, or even to rent a new home, especially with Mars now in Libra, indicating the possibility of home relocation through negotiations, deals, and contracts, and the word rentals. Energetically, having Mercury here does put you in the mindset of thinking a lot, maybe writing a lot, maybe pondering a lot, even paying attention to your dreams in the midnight hour. There's a huge Mercury focus on the home life and the mercurial things that you can do with that. Now, he did go retrograde, as you know, around July 30th at 4 degrees of Leo, and he's been traveling backwards now since the 18th. Well, he's been traveling backwards in retrograde motion since July the 18th, but going back over territory that he had already been traveling from the late June into August the 18th, July the 18th. So you probably thought late August through to about July 18th, you had a handle on something. You knew exactly what you're going to accomplish here regarding writing, communicating, speaking, talking in, about, and from the home. what you need to do for negotiating things here as well. And I find that when Mercury's in the fourth house, I just do a lot more communicating from my home, maybe working from home more, maybe busy on projects requiring me to communicate or write or phone call people. And maybe there's just obvious things like you work from home and you said, oh, it's been a busy time, right? But now you want to revise, change, redo with courage and boldness, something with a leaderful energy that you have been unsure about, but it's all systems go now from August the 11th to the 25th. You're in the post shadow, so it's still a little bit draggy. But after the 25th of August through to early September, when you've got this full mojo, things are really, really moving forward. So don't get frustrated if things seem to be going just a bit slower than you'd like at first, because after the 25th of August through to early September, they're going to be super powered up. One other thing I want to mention here is that Juno, the goddess of committed love and partnership, agreements and contracts in the house of legal contracts in your seventh house is pretty intense. You might really be ready to make a legal contractual agreement regarding residential changes of some sort coming through the sky with this kind of story. Signing a deal on the end of something, a signing of a project, like I'm going to complete this deal on the purchase or sale of a property or a new rental opportunity and signing on the dotted line. So there's an impetus to do that. And it particularly heats up later in the month of August when we get Mercury in a really tight square to Juno. I think that is going to be around the 25th of the month. My brain doesn't remember what I said earlier, but the last week of August, you may indeed be signing contractual paperwork regarding land, property, real estate, purchase, buy, sell, or rent. Finally, if you're in a difficult circumstance with your significant other, conversations that are kind of make or break in long-term committed love are under perhaps the gun for you, especially the last week of August. But as Mercury moves direct, any decisions you've been trying to formulate as far back as July 30th regarding your significant long-term love story and what you want to do with that love story are now ready to go into motion. You know you're going to follow decisions based on your heart. This is Leo, and be courageous enough to act on your heart and what your heart wants. And I certainly love the last week. I certainly love the last week or so of August a lot, because you'll have Venus there as well. So having Venus and Mercury there talking to Juno is a beautiful time to secure rental or purchase, buy, sell agreements regarding land and property. And if you're selling a property, to actually do very well financially, perhaps by selling at that time. So what I'm going to do for you, Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Risings, is draw a card from our new deck. And I just love to mix it up, right? Oracles with this, the Lynn Andrews, and it is the Power Deck, the Cards of Wisdom. It's very much connected, just so you know, to shamanic medicine wheel traditions of the four directions. So that's why the cards have colors and directions on them. I should have shown you the picture on the last one. So the card is grief. Now, I know, don't be afraid of grief. It's in the west side of the medicine wheel. There's a beautiful picture here of somebody sort of leaning into their hands and in a state of sorrow of some sort. Now, we do have Mars traveling with the asteroid Grieve in our sky. I didn't add that, but that's happening right now, August 4th through to the first week or two of August. We're going to feel a lot of that energy for the collective. And because in your sky, Mars is moving through the territory of Libra, right? Part of the sky that represents, and you are Venus ruled, by the way, so that can really be important to note that. Libra represents your sixth house, and your sixth house has a lot of meanings. It's pets, for example, or it could be karmic relationships that are ready to end, or it could be matters to do with someone who's ill and in a hospital with Mars opposite Saturn, and some life grief that you may be going through during the time of this station direct. It's particularly probable through the whole of it all from about August the 11th until the early days of September. So don't be afraid of it. I'll read the meaning of the card to you, but life is made of life, and people often say things to me like, don't be negative. And I think I'm just being realistic, right? Not everything is rainbows and unicorns. Sometimes we have to face life. Grief deepens you, allowing you to explore the perimeters of your soul. Grief is the only gateway to certain levels of consciousness, and it is a hard taskmaster. Through grief, you can explore every aspect of your dark side: anger, pain, abandonment, terror, and loneliness. Aspects of the sacred wound that we usually try to ignore in our daily lives. Grief forces you to acknowledge those parts of yourself that are not yet healed. I mean, it's true. If you can look at grief as a teaching, you will grow. If you can look at grief with awareness and an open heart, it is one of the greatest teachers of all. Here's the image. The seeds of wisdom and enlightenment are planted within the wounds of grief. What is lost can come back to us again in higher ways. Now, Mars is also in the house of a job, and you may lose a job and you love the job, you thought you did, and maybe there's just some sorrow there. Job and pets and that Mars story to do with jobs and pets and animals that we love or whatever. It is something to pay attention to. Mars and Mercury are kind of hooking up in a sextile relationship that's positive as we come into this part of the sky, August the 10th and 11th, but it still can involve some challenges. And so there's something to be aware of there, just not afraid of, right? I'm not saying to be afraid. Get back to me in the comments as this week goes by and maybe up to about the 25th of August when we're in the post-shadow period with Mercury, and let me know how that played out for you guys. I'd love to hear back. Now we're going to move into the sign that follows, and I'm still functioning. I can't believe it. I'm supposed to go to have a drink with some friends on a deck tonight. I'm not doing that. Now, some of you know that I have committed the holy sin of telling you guys about my problems. But anyway, I do have autistic spectrum disorder. And so I'm already demand avoidant about social events. And now I'm also feeling like my head is aching and I'm tired. So I don't think I'm going. But even when I cancel, I feel guilty. Here we have Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Gemini, I think you have to go back. Well, first of all, I want you to go through the categories of writing projects, social media endeavors, traveling, communicating, marketing and selling, teaching, skills-based learning and teaching environments, and the shorter distance travel and stuff like that. That's Mercury here in your third house, like back in July 30th was like gangbusters to go for July 30th to July 18th. He was like, I got this. We're going in this direction. I know what I'm doing. It's this writing project. It's this teaching project. It's this communication project, this social media project, this trip. This all happening, man. I got it figured out. And then, July 18th, he said, I don't know. I have to go back and rethink it. And so he went all the way back, July 18th, until this August the 11th. And he had to reconsider something, revise and rethink it. Now, for me, it's probably the whole Sky Reader class. I have a progressed Gemini sun, and when I'm going to be able to launch it with my whole heart and soul. And I've got a new website I'm building for it. So that's taking me time because I'm doing it myself. So that's an example. But so it doesn't have to be a big deal, but it's a deal, right? Because you want to move forward in that writing project, that trip, that skills-based teaching or learning environment, that social media endeavor, that website launch or whatever. You want to go ahead and do it with commitment from your heart. It's the courageous heart of the lion. And Mercury is allowing for you to have made up your mind. He represents the mind to go ahead this way or that way. And he knows what he wants. He's gotten deep into it and he's got it all figured out, you see. So now he's moving forward, and you can say July 18th all the way through until the 25th. You're in the post shadow. That's when you're rectifying and moving forward on something you were indecisive about and had to rethink it. And then August the 25th through to early September, he's now clear of the shadow, and you're in brand new 15 to 29 degree territory in the sign of Leo. Well, one thing about this Mercury story is that he almost hooked up, but didn't quite make it. He almost hooked up with Juno, and Juno was a Scorpio still back then, back in July, early July 30th, when he was at the 4-degree mark, and he didn't quite make it to a Juno contact at that time. It's like he was close, but not quite. And then what I mean by that is he wanted to talk to her. I mean, we're going back to a place in time when he turns around where he was really ready to chat with Juno, but wasn't chatting to Juno yet. Anyway, something about the last week of August is going to be very similar to this time frame. But as we move to the last week of August, he does hook up with Juno. And he makes a square, and it's nice and tight at 21 degrees. And there's just something going on the last week of August that you're going to be wondering if you are absolutely ready to go forward on some decisions to do with sixth house matters that would involve agreements. The agreements of the sixth house can be many things. The agreement and contractual, situation regarding a pet, to buy a pet, to rent a pet, I don't know, to rent a home, right? To rent a home because rental properties, or to lease out your home, are the sixth house matters. And so there's that. And because it's coming off of third house stories, it may be about neighbors and neighborhoods and contractual agreements and revisions to those agreements as well. You know, it's so funny because I moved into my new place between July 30th and July 18th. That's when I moved into this new place and found out it's so damn noisy. I mean, I love the views of the ocean. Maybe what this is going to be me revising my plans, you know, and saying, okay, this has been great. Let me find a better place to live. It could happen that way. You know, if you have any debt situations you need to eliminate, you might find some agreements, contracts, some kind of a legal system, contractual way to eliminate a debt or reduce a debt. Mercury has all the great ideas in the third house, and a lot of that can be connected to siblings, especially a sibling one younger than you, and something to do with work and employment. So I have a sister I employ, and she's younger than me, one younger. So maybe a contractual agreement to employ my sister one younger than me will emerge in a full-fledged way. It's not available yet. And when will it emerge? It'll emerge on the last week of August. And yes, we've been talking about this all through this Mercury and Leo timeframe. So those are examples. Finally, your neighbors and neighborhood stories, everyday life, the places you go, that's where Mercury is. He went back to rethink something. Maybe you want to rethink your relationship to the neighbors, to the neighborhood itself. Some of you may be pondering a relocation. South Node in the fourth house will be there for Geminis through till next summer, midsummer. That usually can change your home, leave a home, release a home. Now it's been in place since January of this year as well. I mean, maybe you can move once, maybe you can move twice. We shall see. We got eclipses in September that could move you again. You got the card release. Now, maybe I should start with the photo for everybody, right? These cards go in this direction. It looks like it's a bird flying above some kind of canyon with a celestial body above them, maybe a moon. It says release. And it's east in the medicine wheel, for those of you who know your medicine wheel meanings, which I think is about introspection. Anytime you're possessed by an emotion that you cannot control, know that it does not belong to you. Someone is sending negative energy towards you. Okay. Mars is usually the guy that sends darts of negative energy towards anything and anyone, right? He's in Libra, he's off kilter. That could be employees or colleagues, employees, employer conditions where people are really gnarly. Someone is sending negative energy towards you. Imagine that the negative emotion is muddy water pouring down through your hands and onto your feet and legs and onto the earth. Or take the emotion into your hands and release it like a hawk and let it fly away. We tend to hold on to fears and negative energy, sometimes in an addictive way. I think that's true for me. And when you release your fears, you allow power to come into you. Create a welcoming void within and through the power of release. Mercury is your mind, right? That's what Mercury often is about, the mind. And right now, the South Node is moving through the fourth house, which is Virgo. Mercury is releasing ancestral, familial patterns of mind that you may have inherited. And my mom was very much a complainer and a negative Nelly. And I think some of that I've inherited from her or I've adopted as a pattern, where my dad was the optimistic and the sunny side up. And because I have a progressed Gemini sun, I can relate to this right now. So releasing some of that mind energy that holds you back. I don't think anyone necessarily is trying to attack you. That's not my paradigm. This is a shamanic paradigm, but we can be our own worst enemy, attacking ourselves with our own worst thoughts. All right, we're going to continue with the next sign. All right, everybody, we're moving through the signs at a decent pace, if I do say so myself, because basically I'm not quite all together here with whatever I'm recovering from. Thanks for your patience and kindness. I do appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you like all signs content, even delivered with somebody recovering from probably the vid. And we're going to move into the sign of Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So guys, hey, finally Mercury goes direct, retrograde since the 18th of July, but he covered territory that started off as far back as July 30th. So kind of go, hey, July 30th to July 18th, I had my mojo. I knew what I was doing in my Leo sky. I was going to get it on. I knew where I was headed. And then, oops, you got to rethink, revise, go back, figure out what you really need to do there. Your Leo sky cancers is money, honey. It's your earnings, resources, possessions, and family. That can be all of your fam, your husband, your kids, whatever. And so there's something there like you had to go back instead of forward. You had to redo it or revise or rethink or ponder or pause. Right. So now Mercury is ready to go ahead on those matters from now, August the 12th through until the 25th in the shadow, post shadow. A lot of the time between August the 11th and the 25th will have a very strong focus on matters that were incomplete in the first 18 days of July. You're going to go back over things that were never really hammered out on the financial front. Now, because we possess things in the second house, it may be about a car, a piece of furniture, an object that you wish to own or possess. I hope you didn't buy a possession during the retrograde. Usually you'll end up having problems, especially electronics equipments or communications devices. Sorry about that, but that wouldn't have been July 30th to the 18th. And this is necessarily the best choice to buy something because usually you'll end up having to return it. But having Mercury direct in the house of possessions means you're all systems go to possess what you need for your home. I'm particularly focused on your home because Mars is in the fourth house. And as Mercury goes direct, he's kind of talking to Mars and will eventually be in a sextile in a week or so with like a sustained sextile with Mars. And so, well, right away almost. So I'm kind of wondering, did you need to get something about and from and buy your home? Did you need to buy a car and put it in the driveway? Did you need to buy some furniture? Did you need to buy an object that you need in your home, even a practical object, right? So there's a chance to do that at this time. Things to do with buying and selling real estate and property and home, that's a valid point here as well, because you do have Pluto in the house of finance and mortgages and monies that don't belong to you, leveraging. And you will see that this is a possible all systems go, time to sell or buy a property. That could matter. That could be a theme of the sky as well. You kind of also want to pay attention as well to matters that you delayed on to do with your face. It could be your teeth. It could be your throat. It could be your face. Mercury is going forward to like get that tooth fixed or whatever. And bang, he had to rethink it and go back in time to address some unaddressed matters. Mercury represents commercial agreements here. Maybe the quote for the tooth repair was really over the top and you wanted to find a second dentist or another, quote on the nose job or something. So possibly those things are now ready to go forward through to the end of the month. People often ask me about plastic surgery, what to do. Never do it when Mars is debilitated. He's debilitated for 6 weeks in Libra. Never do it when he's invisible for 4 months every 2 years. Never do it when Mars is in a bad sign, basically. All right. Mars is your surgeon. So I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't schedule your dental work right away, for example. I'd wait till Mars gets out of Libra after a 6-week transit through the sign. Go watch my Mars in Libra video. I think it's already out. Is it? I don't know if it is. My brain won't tell me if it is. I can't remember I put that video out yet. Now, I'm pretty sure I did, but who knows? So the other thing I want you to think about here, as this Mercury is stationing direct, is something you need to communicate to someone and you're ready to do it. It's like you've been biting your tongue, right? I had something I wanted to write, talk about, email, communicate, phone call to somebody in my life. Likely in this kind of chart, it may have involved employers or bosses or people connected to your workspace. And now you're ready to make that conversation happen between the 18th of the month through to early September. Especially the 18th, between the August the 11th and early September. The square to Juno that shows up in the third week of August could mean that you're ready to make a contractual agreement with a child, with a romantic partner, or regarding an entrepreneurial or creative project or business endeavor. And there will be a contractual agreement, contractual signing possibility. There was almost that vibe going through the sky early on, like way back July 30th, but it never really, on July 30th at 4 degrees, it wasn't perfected. And now this is a real nice perfecting energy. So something can really be happening here. You can really open up a possibility for something where you guys can get this agreement off the ground. And when it comes to a child, sometimes we make agreements with our children, right? A handshake or, a more formal agreement. And those agreements can be very successful at this time. Now I'm going to draw a card for you and see what we've got going on here, what the Oracle deck has got to say. And we're using this brand new deck. It's a shamanic style, the power deck. It's got the four directions of a medicine wheel involved. And we're going to see how would you best be served to approach Mercury's direct motion from August 11th to the 25th, when he's in his post shadow period and finishing unfinished business with clarity and a strong heart. We have the red, the south, which happens to do with children. I think you guys, innocence, wonder, childhood, ancestors sometimes. The south, I know ancestors is the north, south is childhood. So it's funny because we do have some energy of Juno in the house of children right now. And it's called the quickening. People on camels. People with a portal in the rocks. The starry portal, yeah. The quickening. You can never really teach a warrior about the unknown with words. You must use experience. But if you look into the eyes of a woman of power, you may catch up with her a little. She has the years of truth ahead of you. However, her eyes can quicken you like a river heading toward the rapids. How exotic, like a river heading towards the rapids. Once you open yourself with love, not with understanding, you cannot love with your mind. Listen from your heart. Leo, it's all the courage of the heart. And Mercury is the mind. And it's how you get that mind and heart together in unison. But it is about money, possessions, speech, conversations, face, the things I outlined, family members. Maybe a conversation with one of your children needs to be happening here, adult or in the home. If a camel is walking down a path and another camel passes him, the first camel will go faster to keep up. Wow, I didn't know that. This is how power works. Don't learn everything with your mind. Quicken your spirit by letting go of attachments and move into a stronger vibration of power from your heart, from the courageous Leonine heart in the second house of earnings, possessions, and money. And there's something going on with the kids, right? Because, kids are lovers. That's where Juno is being squared at the end of August, last week of August, by Mars. Moving on to the next sign, and the next sign will be Le Voila. Where are you? It will be Leos. Maybe I could have started with you because it's happening in your sign. So go back to 17, 18, of course, and then now here we are again. So August of 17, August of 18, 2018, August of 2024, August of 2025. These kind of July, August timeframes, you really are powered up. There's a lot going on for you that Mercury's trying to really help you understand, decide, make decisions, not necessarily deciding, that's more Mars, but understand with the mind what needs to happen, revise and revision and rethink something very personal to you. If it's your Leo sun, it's personal to your career purpose. If it's your Leo moon, it's personal to your home and home life. And if it's Leo rising, it's personal identity issues, like who am I going to be in this story of life? What character attributes do I want to amplify, and which ones am I ready to revise and let go of? So with Mercury here, you're kind of rethinking yourself, for one thing, for the risings, right? He went retrograde on July the 30th, and on July the 30th, he was in the pre-shadow period. He retrograde on July 18th. And so all the kind of July 30th to the 18th of August, okay, that time frame was stuff that you were really working out. I think my brain's so fried from COVID or whatever. I hope I've been saying it right, but it's July 30th to August the 18th. I might have said July 18th in some kind of fog earlier. Possibly I did. Or do I have it right? Oh my God. Do not try to do a video when you are in recovery from what is probably COVID. June the 30th, Mercury enters a retrograde zone. I introduced this at the beginning. Yes, July 18th, he stations and turns retrograde. And August 11th, he turns direct. Okay. If I, by any chance, screwed up other signs, I've asked for kindness already. Maybe I shouldn't be recording a video when I'm not well, but the algorithmic beast is a treadmill. So I apologize. My brain was like, it's in and out and on and off. It's firing on no cylinders right now. It's like I canceled an engagement tonight. I'm taking a nap after I record this for you. Oh my God, I am not doing well. Okay. June the 30th through July the 18th. You knew what you were doing. You had a plan. You were going to go forward. Okay. Then you had to, July the 18th to August 11th. It's time to go back. It's time to rethink. It's time to revise. If this video is full of mistakes, guys, I can't fix it at this point. So sorry. I can't edit it. I don't have time. So Leos, be patient. And any other sign I could have screwed up. Aries through to Cancer. Like, oh my God, my brain. So it is a kind of thing. If you like and subscribe right now, I'll kiss you, okay? Because I feel such a loser today, getting my brain to operate properly. If you are going to revise something that you were thinking of going ahead on, and you now don't think, June 30th to July 18th, you had a handle on it. Now you have to revise it. It's very personal to you, and you've been rethinking it since July the 18th. Now it's time to go forward at last with a courageous, knowing heart, with a great decision-making power as well, to some extent, because Mars is sextile Mercury. Decisions and actions are prompted as he goes direct, as Mercury goes direct, and it's connected to things that also Mars cares about. The third house, decisions and actions you want to make personally regarding travel, social media, writing projects, learning and teaching projects. And there's now a new decision-making apparatus underway to help you make choices based on informed consent. You have got your mind wrapped around what you want in your identity as a Leo rising, in your career as a Leo sun, in your home life as a Leo moon. Because we also have a square to Juno forming in the last week of July, you're ultimately going to be drawn toward a possibility of a contractual agreement regarding property and land. And Mars could say moving to a new neighborhood or changing your neighborhood environment, and contractual agreements regarding home and property, even retail property for someone who wants to buy a retail space or something like that, or lease a space. Those are narratives that could occur in the last week of August for some of the Leo folk out there. Certainly travel. Mars wants to go take a trip somewhere. He's got frustration opposite Saturn. Now Mercury's direct and has all the ideas needed to facilitate short or long distance travel to places you've been before. And you may get agreements from mom or family of origin members to help you with that travel, maybe even to help you finance it. I don't know, but travel can be also one of the things that has clarity coming for you. August the 11th to August the 25th, as you move forward, as you have a clear mind about what it is you're going to do regarding travel during the station direct. One thing about Mercury is now your mind is sharp, clear, and it's based on passionate, heart-centered knowing. And so what you decide to do in your life in regards to third house matters, Mars, Mercury, are going to be the correct decisions. Mars is leaning on that Mercury to help you choose. Do you want to take that trip? Do you want to change that neighborhood? Do you want to have a new conversation with a sibling one younger? Do you want to get that social media site or that website or that writing project worked on and with new kinds of clarity that you didn't have before? And learning, do you want to study something? Do you have what it takes now to get yourself, all lined up for the course or the study or whatever it is you're doing? The card I drew for you is kind of interesting. I drew the intuition card from this deck. First of all, take a look how beautiful that is. It I was talking to Leo. I was giving you instructions. I was telling you about using your intuition. No, I did not lose power. No, the internet did not cut out. My laptop shut down by itself for no reason. Mercury is still retrograde as I record this for you on August the 8th, Friday. Can you make this stuff up? You can't. Thanks, Mercury, for being a trickster. This is the intuition card for you guys. I was showing you the picture before the whole thing cut out and I lost my internet. No, I didn't lose my internet. I lost my computer shut down for no reason by itself. It never does that. From the left side of your body comes a female energy, whether you are a man or a woman. Mercury is the messenger. He's like your dream messenger at night. He's your inner still voice within. To hear the voice of God, you must listen with the ears of the soul. I channeled that book. This is where Mercury comes into place. So definitely tune into your intuition. He's a god of synchronicity, omens, and portents. So within your female consciousness lives your intuition. Intuition is the intelligence of your body mind. Feel what is true with your mind and body rather than knowing what is true with your mind. Intuition does not have the clouds of accumulated knowledge to distort your vision. Intuition sees what is the truth. With intuition, you can feel the source of your being without reasoning it away and being filled with doubt. Doubt destroys your intuition. Your power always lies in the balance between your mind, Mercury, and your intuition. Mercury works with intuition because he works through synchronicities. and dream messages. So please pay attention to both synchronicity and dream messages as you move through this Mercury direct August the 11th, through to the post shadow period August 25th, and through to early September as he finishes up his stay in the sign of Leo. And what she's doing is she's rubbing her shoulder, but you don't even want to know about that. Okay, moving to the next sign. It was almost better already. And now we're going ahead and doing Virgo. You are a Virgo. You are ruled by Mercury. We're talking about August the 11th. I know the chart says the 12th. It doesn't matter. It is the 11th. And that's our story. Mercury moves into direct motion after being retrograde since July the 18th, where you've been stalled out and stuck. However, this 12th house placement is subtle. It's addiction, self-undoing, bad habits and behaviors. It matters to do with your own sabotaging of yourself. And sometimes we do it based on our ancestral line, our past lives, our unconscious mind, and our unprocessed trauma. So there's a lot about Mercury here trying to reveal to you something. He was here last August as well for a couple of months, last July, August, and 24. And here he is again, trying to bring your awareness and attention to something that's subtle. And you have to really want to look at it clearly and think about it clearly and put your mind to it clearly with courage and heart. But if you go back to June the 30th, I hope I didn't say July before, June the 30th to July the 18th, you basically had that pre-shadow period that I introduced at the beginning of this video, where Mercury was moving forward and now he's backtracked, right? He had hit a retrograde on July 18th and he had to go back and rethink that story. What are you going to do with it? Dreams at night, messages from your intuition. These are things Mercury's really up to in the 12th house, as well as bringing people to you that can be guides or mentors or help you with situations of self-undoing as well. Now, one of the things I think about Mercury here, he's a magician and you can cast a spell. This is one of the more enchanted houses. And so if you want to do some kind of magical rituals as he goes direct on the 11th, knowing he's in the post shadow till the 25th of August, the kind of thing you're doing in that environment, in that energy of a magical spell, is leaning into your soul. It is the house of enlightenment. And in some ways, by going towards a deep surrender, not thy will, but my will, a petition to the divine, a prayer, a magical ritual of some kind. You've got a lot of leverage here. You're not going to get Mercury with this kind of power in this kind of way until another 7 years. So, it's like 2017, 18, looking squarely at yourself undoing and addictions, right? Looking at it again, summer of 24, summer of 25, and here we go again. This is 25, and not back for 7 more years. You may as well use it or lose it. With Mars cutting through the house of what you put in your mouth or nose and working with that Mercury, we're looking at, particularly through to the end of August, quite the strong possibility that you're working to eliminate an addictive food habit, substance abuse habit of some sort, anything that goes through the face and into the body. Okay. It's time to cut, end, and sever, and also to redirect. It's not what you add, it's what you release, what you let go of. And it can be benign, from mac and cheese and Haagen-Dazs to, something that is a substance that causes harm and is a known drug or toxin, whatever you're letting go of. It's a great time for a reset. Sober September, sober October, maybe awesome alcohol-free August, take your pick. Really buckling down with a commitment and having a courageous mind to go forward in those areas of life are very helpful for you now. Not all addictions are substance addictions. We can be addicted to certain patterns of self-defeat, procrastination, and bad habits. So anything that holds you back in life, you're ready to start making choices and decisions to cut away from them. Now, I do want to mention that Juno is going to be highly activated the last week of August, and she's in your 3rd house, and Mars is going to talk to her. Mercury's going to talk to her. So there may be some really important decisions you're going to make regarding contractual vows and agreements with neighbors, siblings, or cousins and aunts and uncles, or with situations involving neighbors and neighborhood. And in your case, work environments as well, because of the Pluto and the Uranus stories also co-present. So you may be having to make some decisions regarding work, and maybe contractual agreements regarding work and changes regarding work as well. we travel in the third house. And if you need to make a contractual agreement regarding travel, you're probably doing it because it's also to do with learning, like signing up for a course and it requires you to sign on a dotted line, or a learning environment and sign on the dotted line. At the end of August, Venus joins Mercury and she rules your ninth house of academics and universities. So I can imagine some of you leaning towards the last week in August of getting fully engaged in some signing up for some educational path, whether it's a shorter learning, skills-based, or a longer learning, and it can be professional learning as well. So there's a learning environment for some Virgos where you want to learn something, and the opportunity for learning may be emerging as Mercury goes direct more intensely the last week of August as well. So one thing I'd say about having Mars in the second house is that normally you could do dental work, facial surgery, all of that, or you get acne, inflammation, rosacea, flares of facial skin problems as well. But I wouldn't really want to do that with Mars and Libra. I would refrain from doing any surgical procedures to your face, okay, if you can, until Mars leaves Libra and ideally moves at least into Scorpio where he has some dignity. Just want to point out that Mars here is not in his strongest place in the sky, and he's opposite Saturn, which that compression is not good for the surgeon that you'd be using, okay, or the dermabrasion or the facial rejuvenation to procedures. Not your ideal time, in my humble opinion. You can find out from somebody else, right? Go get down with, I don't know who. Go advise yourself with a psychic, but I think it's not a good idea. I got grief for you, the second sign. It doesn't surprise me. Mars is traveling with asteroid grief, and he will be sextiling Mercury in the first, August 11th to the 25th. So as a general principle. So I don't have to read it, do I? But I guess I do. I read it for another sign already. I think it was Taurus. Grief deepens you, allowing you to explore the perimeters of your soul, and grief is the only gateway to certain levels of consciousness and is a hard taskmaster. Well, in the second house and the 12th house of hospital, second house is family. A family member in the hospital and some grieving would not be unprecedented in this kind of sky, for example, just so you know, or a pet because of Mercury opposite the house of pets and grieving for a pet. Through grief, you can explore every aspect of your dark side, abandonment, terror, loneliness, anger, and pain, and aspects of the sacred wound that we usually try to ignore in our daily lives. Grief forces you to acknowledge the parts of yourself that are not yet healed. If you can look at grief as a teaching, you will grow. If you can look at grief with awareness and an open heart, it is one of the greatest teachers of all. The seeds of wisdom and enlightenment are planted within the wounds of grief. What is lost can come back to us again in higher ways. One of my biggest grieving periods was when my mom passed away when I was 39. It changed my life forever. And it put me in touch with all kinds of stuff about myself, shadow material that I hadn't dealt with. So I wouldn't be who I am today if my mom hadn't died when I was 39. So don't be afraid of grief. And it can be anything. It could even be just a loss of a pet. I'll say just, I know pets are important, but both Taurus and Virgo are dealing with that sign. Mars is traveling with the asteroid grief in our sky right now. And so that makes sense right now for you because Mars is in the house. Another meaning of the second house is family. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move into the next sign. And the next sign is the sign of Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So I'm moving by days. I apologize. I want to move by hours. I want to get us into the Libra rising zone. Here we go. Now, Libra, I'm just going to say it straight up. You're dealing with a Mercury story in your 11th house. And that will have you revising your long-range goals and dreams and plans. You thought you knew what you wanted. You had the big picture. The bucket list was ready. You knew your, 5-year and 10-year plan, and you had it all figured out because that's what Mars was going to do. He was saying like, hey, June the 30th to July 18th, I got this. It's all figured out. First 18 days or so of July, all systems go. Oopsie daisy. Then he went backwards. He went backwards all the way to the 4th degree where he was in the beginning of the story on June 30th to rethink, revise, and redo those long-range goals and plans. Some of it may be even revisions regarding friendship circles and groups of belonging as you rethought your plans there as well. Even also gains from your career financially and revising the way those gains come to you. Certainly, you're luckier than hell with Jupiter and Venus in your 10th house. We'll be doing a video on that Monday, my second video. But in your career, all systems go. But the 11th house stories are definitely important. They're interconnected. The gains of the 10th come through the 11th, and Mercury has been fine-tuning the gains, whether it's how you make money, commissions, salary, structures, what kind of financial gain you have, how you get influence over groups of people, how your friends, allies, and benefactors are trying to help you win the financial day in your work and career. Those are things some Libras have really been working with, right? Now, as he goes into direct motion August 11th, he's still in shadow till the 25th of August. So that shadow period could have you really revising and redoing a lot of stuff as well, but now with certainty and clarity to do with matters you were really focused on in the first half of July. And the thing about this is also Mars is involved. Mars is sitting in your first house. And as Mercury heads direct, he's going to end up, in a kind of, vibrational frequency of connection to Mars. Sextile energy is what it is. And it's very positive. Mars wants to take actions on Mercury's ideas. Mercury wants to tell Mars how to operate. Mars is not in balance. So conversations, contractual agreements, and negotiations regarding jobs and work and friendship circles and career gains are underway for you. Let's say August 11th to the 25th of July. To the 25th of August. As we approach the last week of August, though, Mars is going to square the contract goddess and the vows and agreements herself, Juno, in the house of earnings and work. I think some of you are going to be signing away at the end of August on some kind of a handshake or contractual dotted line, a new agreement regarding work, money, resources, possessions, and earnings. It could look like an upgrade, a promotion, a raise. It could look like a brand new job. Whatever it is, it's going to be a turning point for you, but you could have felt it coming on early on in June 30th, early July. You would have been feeling this potential, but it wasn't ready to happen yet. It didn't have its legs yet. Now, I don't know about Mars and grief for you because I did a whole video on the kite and asteroid grief. I wrote about it at Substack. But if there's grief, you are the one with the grief. You have some grieving to do. What are you letting go of? What is it you need to release? It could be something to do with the 12th house, a sabotage, an addiction. Who knows? But there's something you want to release or let go of, and you're ready to do it because of the South Node and Mercury's sign. And it could be a friendship, something as simple as letting go of a friendship relationship. And you may want to grieve that as well, or letting go of a career dream or goal, and you're ready to let that go as well. So there is a sense of something that must be, attended to emotionally. Grieving doesn't have to be an ordeal, right? But grief is on Mars in your sign. So you may be finding there's something to grieve about. Certainly with Mars on grief and flowing to Pluto in the 5th house, it could be grieving over a lost love relationship or a relationship in romantic love that must transform itself. So I'm going to draw a card for you right now and see what the Oracle deck that I'm working with today, the Power deck, has to say for you. I showed the Power deck in the beginning. I'll put a link to the deck in the description box if I remember. It is commitment. And it doesn't surprise me. Mars is opposing your 7th house. And even while he's sextiles Mercury for conversation, communication, that's more of the work story. Unless you get an intervention from a friend in a marriage situation, Mars is opposite Saturn in the marriage house or the business partnership or the audience or clients in marketplace. And there's some tension here. And so the card commitment doesn't surprise me. I will read it to you. I'm going to give you a tip. Mars is in your sign out of balance for 6 darn weeks long. Be careful. You are out of balance when it comes to throwing darts and swords at someone significant in your life. This is a normal problem that everyone experiences with Mars in Libra. I don't think I've done my Mars in Libra video, so I'll get that out probably this coming Thursday. Commitment. You need to commitment to focus on your target, take aim, pull back the bow, and then shoot your arrow, even though you know you will hit the bullseye with every shot. This is a duality of enlightenment. To hit a bullseye requires total commitment of your spiritual and physical being, but it requires as well total commitment to letting go, to simply walking down the path and through the gateway that leads to your true destiny. It's a process of gathering. You gather your emotions, your mental strength, your abilities that you would, as you would gather the sheep. Well, your mental strength is Mars, a little bit out of balance in Libra. Well, that's your courage and determination. Your mental strength is at Mercury direct in Leo. Follow the inner guidance of your heart in what you think you need to do and act on in life right now. It can be a long process, but your commitment gives you endurance. Then it's the next step after defining your active power. So materialize your dreams and begin to live them. Your dreams are your 11th house where Mercury is. Build a magnificent dream lodge within you and do so with total commitment. Well, the dream lodge and the dreams are where Mercury is in your 11th house. Mars is to take action and make decisions to fulfill those dreams and commit yourself to your dreams. But also be careful, because the real commitment to some other person, business partner, friend, long-term love relationship, is also something you may be working on and thinking about a lot during the rest of the month of August. All right, moving on to the next sign. And now I have to patch together two videos because, as you all know, my whole laptop just shut itself down with no warning, which is so weird. All right. I have no idea. I've never had that happen before. It just stopped and started again. All right, Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. Let's go ahead. Mercury's moving direct. What does it mean for your sign? First of all, go ahead and remember that you thought you knew where you were going in something. You had it all figured out, but you were wrong. Between July the 30th and the 18th, June the 30th and July the 18th, you thought you were all systems go on your career choices, decisions, and actions. You got to like, okay, I figured it out. This is what my mind tells me I need to do in my career path, in my reputation zone, in regards to how people see me in the world taking action. Sometimes it's even considered to be like about my wedding or my legal marriage and your thoughts and decisions about it. And you were like, yeah, I got it, man. June 30th to July 18th, I've got it figured out. And then, we backtracked. Mercury had to rethink it. You're rethinking it all the way till now, the 11th of August, as Mercury moves direct. And now you're going to go forward with courage and clear-mindedness about your career, and your reputation matters. And because he's also talking to Mars in your 12th house, you're also thinking about, in some way, somehow, you can take some decisions and actions on your career path, from backroom deals and negotiations and subtle tactics. Maybe you go ahead and talk to the boss, the human resource department. Maybe you make some sideways contracts. Maybe you sneak out and get a headhunter arrangement going for another job. You're doing it behind the scenes to make changes in the work and career. Not telling anyone what you're up to, because you need to do it in a stealthy way and keep it secret. Or you could also be saying that you want to make some changes in your work because you want to work in a different location, in a new, far off, distant shore and land. And opportunities may be emerging for that as well. And you maybe have pondered that already, but now you're ready to go for that. And now this is a clear-minded you with great ideas, and contractual agreements are forged in a clear-minded, big-hearted way. You're following a heart-based mind decision point. Sometimes as well, if you've been struggling with any self-undoing or addiction, certainly Mars can help you end them, but that's ending in relationship to your reputation, right? Everyone knows you are like out of control, you're a lush, you're an addict or something. Now you're going to shift that and change that as well, rather successfully, if I do say so, with that sextile. You might find that you look at the end of the month of August, after the 25th especially, but at the last week of the month, and you've got the post shadow zone done, and now you're moving into new territory through to early September, and all of a sudden you have a potential contractual vow or agreement, Juno, to consider. We will have Venus with Mars in the end of August. And so therefore it does take you back to marriage agreements and marriage contracts, or business agreements and business contracts. And those will be on your radar to make some turning point decisions about them as you approach the last week of August. So if you're in a great relationship, fine. But if you're not, there may be some reassessments about the commitment you made to a significant other, but in business or love or to a client, or the commitments you've made to your audience. Now, we're going to draw a card for you to say, what would you best be served by knowing from the power deck? It's called the power deck as Mercury goes direct. And we're talking about the direct motion post shadow range of August the 11th through to the 25th. And the card I got for you is intuition. The second, I mean, there are 45 cards in this deck. And we keep repeating themes of grieve, which Mars has grieved. Now, intuition again for you. Another sign had it as well. This makes sense. Mars is the intuitive mind because he brings messages through synchronicities and dreams. From the left side of your body comes your feminine energy, whether you're a man or woman. And within this femaleness is the feminine consciousness that lives. It's called your intuition. Intuition is the intelligence of the body mind. So I want you to feel what is true with your body mind rather than knowing what is true with your mind. Now, Scorpios, you're like a water sign, and you've got a handle on this intuition anyway. Mars is your ruler as well. And don't forget, Mars is really working on your behalf behind the scenes in your 12th house. Intuition does not have the clouds of accumulated knowledge to distort your vision. Intuition simply sees what is the truth. With intuition, you can feel the source of your being without reasoning it away and being filled with doubt. Doubt destroys your intuition. Your power always lies in the balance between mind and intuition. Mercury is the mind. Intuition is the mind when it tunes into the non-ordinary. It's like, okay, I'm going to make a decision based on how many feathers cross my path. I'm going to ask for a synchronicity. I'm going to ask for a sign. I'm going to ask for a divine portent. I'm going to ask for a dream that tells me what to do. So use your intuition as you're making some decisions or changing some course of action in the next few weeks. I would say, especially between the 11th and the 25th, and especially if decisions are also revolving around marriage. And that's because at the end of the month, Venus enters into your 10th house, and it can be decisions around contracts, agreements, work, marriage, committed love. These are stories to pay attention to for all of you Scorpios as you approach the rest of this month, basically. Thank you, Mercury. Next sign is going to be Sagittarius. And I know I hear trucks, I hear cars, I hear sirens. If you hear them too, welcome to my new busy neighborhood. And someone in my comments said, I don't think you're going to be staying there long. I kind of agree. I do have a year-long lease, but you can break a lease. But I'm not sure. I do love the ocean view. So we'll see. It's such a bright unit full of floor-to-ceiling windows. All right, moving on to you guys. You are Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Mercury's retrograde here, in a fire sign, kind of vibe. You have to pay attention. You and the Leos and the Aries, right? This is in the intro. Please go back and watch it. It's taking you back to a very big, bold energy that you experienced throughout 2017 and 18. And here it is again in 2024 and now 2025, where Mercury keeps hovering for a long, long time in fire signs due to retrogradation. In this regard, his time in, your Leo, 9th house of Dharma and purpose and meaning is a big call to Dharma, purpose, and meaning. Pilgrimage, long distance travel, foreign lands and shores, contractual legal agreements, court cases, and higher education. Now, and book publishing. All of those are 9th house matters, but ultimately, this is a strong yearning for you to move towards purpose. And Mercury went something like this. Oh, here I am. It's June 30th. And through to July 18th, he thought he knew in his mind what purpose and alignment meant for you, what your true north should look like. And then he decided July 18th to go back and revisit that and revise and rethink it. Now he's ready to move forward. As of the 11th of August through to the 25th, when he's in a post shadow, things you hesitated to go fulfill are now ready for fulfillment. Is it going to that university? Is it taking that foreign trip, signing up for that pilgrimage, going to that book publishing deal, contractual agreement, finding that guru, that mentor, guide, and teacher, or that therapist, someone who could guide you? Now you're ready to do that. And I need some water, so you'll have to hold up. I'm just going to not even stop the share because I can't. Because everything in this video has been glitched out. So let me come back to you. Let me get out of my recording table. I'll be right on back. So Sag, keep pondering. What is your purpose in life? What's the meaning of life? Mercury's trying to show it to you. Have you been thinking about it a lot since like the end of June? And now it's time to figure it out for sure. All righty, here we go. I am ready. I have water. All right, so then one more thing to tell you is that Mars is interacting with Mercury as Mercury goes forward from this retrograde. And there's a lot of collaboration between these two. I even say like August the 11th to the 19th, and you're really able to affect something here. Like I am going to make some decisions and take some actions regarding my friendship groups and circles, my career and its goals and long range dreams for my life, my friendships for sure. Some could end up, going by the wayside, the way I manifest career financial gains. And those things are under deep consideration and action taking and planning. Thank you to Mercury supporting Mars to take the action you need to facilitate 11th house success stories. Sometimes it's not the friends we add, the ones we let go of, or the elder sibling we cut away from. But whatever's happening here in the 11th house, Mercury is guiding it from a house of wisdom and knowledge. And you're going to find as you move the last week of the month of August with Venus in Venus with Mercury in Leo, right? At the same time, there is a square to Juno, major contractual vows and agreements and considerations are being made. This can look like, in your case, signing a book publishing deal, signing an educational contract, signing a deal or agreement regarding book publishing, or even something connected to a travel agreement to a distant shore or land. You don't have to sign it. You could just agree, a committed agreement, a vow to do something. All right, let's go ahead and see what card we have for you. With Mercury here too, pay attention to your dreams. This is the Asclepium Temple of Dreams. This is where your dreams have a lot of information to impart and to guide you and to show you the way. And so your dream life is very rich if you let it be, and you could get some deep insights into your own unconscious patterns and habits. And Juno is also trining the North Node as this direct station happens. So really diving into breaking vows from past lives that you don't even consciously know you have, vows of celibacy, chastity, poverty, vows of something, and family system rule breaking. I mean, you're all set for some massive wisdom knowledge shift of a way you live your life. Now let's draw this vows. And I don't know, guys, there's a lot going on in that chart for you when it comes to getting rid of the old past life and ancestral junk in your life that holds you back. Now, let's draw from the Power card deck by what's her name? Lynn Andrews. No one's got this card yet. It's the south of the medicine wheel, and it's virtue. And here's the picture. Now, I kind of think that's interesting because virtue could come out of the house of knowledge and wisdom, the ninth house of God. If anything has virtue, because virtuous means like virtual, which means to do with veritas, which I think has to do with truth. There's a little Buddha there and some steers in the world. And there is a description of these cards in the deck, but I don't have time to describe the art. I'm describing the meaning of virtue, okay? Remember, your ninth house could be a virtue house for sure. Virtue is one of the most passive qualities of power. When you pull back the bow, preparing to set the arrow and define your target, you use strength, the will, and the focus that you have collected with that part of yourself called virtue. I mean, when you talk about a Sag, you guys have a bow and arrow, right? You're the archer. Oh my God. Half horse, half man, double bodied. I mean, you can't make it up, right? So when you pull back the bow, your passive strength is virtue. Virtue is where you find inner truth. Yeah, well, truth and wisdom and knowledge. Ninth house is where Mercury is. It's a place of illumination. And as that radiance grows within you, it becomes integrity. Without virtue, there's no inner balance. Virtue comes from the unknown, quiet things that you do for the world and for other people. With each virtuous act, and you do have Juno in the house of charity right now, with each virtuous act, your spirit shield becomes stronger and more beautiful, integrating the symbols of your inner life. However, like the deer, these symbols tread softly. Virtue marks your path on the other side. And like the one who walks last, the virtuous person is in a position of power. Walk in beauty and virtue, as power often arrives quietly. Okay, I'm going to leave you to ponder that in your life at this time. It's for you to digest. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign, okay, caps. Having Mercury moving through your eighth house is hard to actually get your handle on it. You know, it's a hidden house. You can't see it. You're what we call in conjunct or in aversion. So it's offside in your peripheral vision starting around June the 30th. Well, June 26th, Mercury goes into Leo or so. Then June 30th, he's in his pre-shadow period. June 30th to July 18th, you think you know what you're doing regarding shared resource with a spouse or business partner, money from investments, money that comes from inheritances, money that you give or get for spousal support and stuff like that. You're literally thinking, you know, maybe you don't think much, but maybe you have a feeling your tax structures that you've got a handle on this stuff. You got it, nothing to worry about. And then all of a sudden on July the 18th, Mercury retrogrades. And you're like, okay, well, maybe there's something to rethink here. And through from July 18th all the way until the August 11th turnaround, you had to rethink, revise, pause, and go on hold. You might have been stuck in that area of life. Now he's moving forward, and you will, August the 11th to August the 25th, be able to make keen, bold, understanding-based decisions regarding money that you have from other people. It can be inheritances. It can be from your spouse, especially with the double conjunction in the house of the spouse. Your spouse is damn frigging lucky. Your significant other is lucky, or your sibling 3 older is super lucky, and you can benefit from their luck. And that can translate as financial benefit. So negotiating, signing contracts and deals, those are all possibilities, especially if it involves money from sibling, older, or money from a spouse, or shared resources with a spouse. At the end of August, especially when Venus moves into your eighth house, these are positive indications with Mercury still there, squaring Juno, that you're going to have some kind of windfall or pennies from heaven and agreements about sharing those resources with another. I don't know who you're sharing it with. Let's not worry about it. But shared resources and windfall energy looks very lit up for you at the end of August. Let's say anytime in the last 7 days of August. Mercury is also in a very deep occult house. Tarot, numerology, astrology, these are themes to pay attention to. The Hermetic arts and enlightenment. And Mercury, deeply engaged here, can bring you deep insights from the dead. The dead are speaking to you. You're dreaming about them. You're understanding messages from the beyond. Those things are especially powerful. And as he goes direct, he'll continually try to send you those messages. And he is sextile Mars, making decisions about marriage and formal partnerships in marriage, and making decisions and taking actions regarding matters connected to your career and your visible reputation and how people see you in the world. Mars is not in kilter here. He can go to extremes, so be careful. But there's support from Mercury now, direct, encourage-hearted Leo. I want you to look back to the occult mysteries and the money that you share with others, spousal support, inheritance, etc., in 2017 and 2018, especially in the summer, you know, August through July, August kind of timeframe, September. Those were when Mercury was here in Leo for a long time. And also last summer, July and August, those eighth house stories were active last summer as well. And you won't get this for another 7 years, this long focus of Mercury on the fire signs. So this is kind of a time for you to really lean into that. And it activates all of the spiritual energy, the moksha, the liberation for you. So there's that as well. Now, as Mercury is going forward in this part of your sky, right? And, you know, there's so much other stuff going on in your sky. It's crazy. He does have a whole sign vibrational flow to the actions of your fourth house. And for some of you, especially with Uranus in the sixth, there may be some unexpected and surprising opportunities to finance a new place to live. And you may find that by the end of August, you have a clear beat on where you want to home yourself. That's one of the stories that some Capricorns are going to be noticing at this time. And you may have had some thoughts and ideas about that. Okay, where you want to live, what you want to do, July 30th to August 8th to July 30th to July 18th, right? First 19 days there, 20 days. And now you really know what you need and what you want. Okay, now I drew a card for you that other people have gotten. It's commitment. This is the picture. So we keep repeating the themes for this Mercury. I find that fascinating. Okay, we have a trail with a portal, with a earth, with a planet and a person over there. All right. Commitment. It's the South. Everyone's getting the red cards, the south in the medicine wheel. Some of you shamans out there, tell me what you think about that. You need commitment to focus on your target, take aim, and pull back the bow. That was just the last card, and I shuffled. And it was Sagittarius. And I want to say one thing about commitment. You do have Jupiter and Venus in your house of committed relationship right now. And who knows, but there is a possibility that with that energy that it is such a dominator of the sky. And possibly because Mars is squaring that from your 10th house while chatting with Mercury in your 8th house, there is some really deep internal work going on for you about what you want to do about a long-term relationship commitment, Capricorns. And Mercury is embedded in that as well, vis-a-vis the Mars action. So you need a commitment to focus on your target, take aim, and pull back the bow. Shoot your arrow, even though it will hit the bullseye with it will not hit the bullseye with every shot. It wasn't Sag who had that, somebody else did. This is a duality of enlightenment. To hit the bullseye requires total commitment of your spiritual and physical being. It was Libras, I think, but it also requires total commitment to letting go, to simply walking down the path and through the gateway that leads to your true destiny. It's a process of gathering. You gather your emotions, your mental strength, and your abilities as you would gather sheep. It can be a long process, but your commitment gives you endurance. It is the next step after defining your active power. Materialize your dreams and begin to live them. Build that magnificent dream lodge within you and do so with commitment. Now, for you, it really does pertain mostly, to my humble opinion, to Mars squaring the long-term committed love and relationship, business partnership, and audience client house. And what are you going to commit to or not commit to? And because Mercury's in the 8th house, he's diving into deep soul work. He's in the unconscious, the realms of spiritual liberation, the psyche, the archetypes of your psyche. Go deep into that and come to mental clarity, Mercury's mental clarity from your heart. What is the right decision in any of those areas I described to you? Moving into the last signs, thank goodness gracious, this is a long video. This is, if you like and subscribe and hit the bell for notification, I'll kiss your feet, okay? Don't forget to do that because that helps the channel grow, and I always forget to remind you of that. And it does really matter in the algorithm. So Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising, I am one of you. I'm a rising sign. Mercury is in the 7th house. What is the 7th house, guys? It's our marriage house, our committed love, our clients and our audience, and our marketplace. It is a place where Mercury likes to chit chat and communicate, negotiate, and deal make. Okay, so deal making is big for us right now. Start June 30th, right? June 30th through to the end of August, early September. A lot of this energy of Mercury here. And, you might want to go back and think about how you were having a lot of communicating, phone calls, emails, text messages, or public exposure to an audience or marketplace because of Mercury on June 30th. Right? When he got to that June 30th, he was like, I got this. I figured it out. Stationing, he was going forward from the 4th degree. And by the time he got to July the 18th, he recognized he had to retreat. He had to go back, he had to think about it again. And so in your long-term love, in your relationship to audience and clients and marketplace and business partners, what did you have to rethink that you were all systems go about basically mostly the first 18 days of July? And then, oh dear, I don't think I have a right handle on it yet. I better go back, and it needs to be rethought. Or even a significant person in your life had a change of mind on something that they were dealing with, and you were also involved in it with them. Those are other ways to parse that story. With Mercury here, it's a contractual house for agreements that are binding and often legal. And Mercury is available for the fine print now that he is no longer retrograde. So if there's something you thought you might to sign on the dotted line or a handshake agreement, a business partnership deal, now is the time to move forward. The retrograde would not have been a good time to do that. In the life of a significant other, they may have been grappling with some major things in their life, some mind-based things, some thought patterns they had to resolve. They were thinking about something. They weren't sure what to do yet. Now they're able to go forward on the 11th of August, especially to the 25th, the post-shadow period, and have a lot of mental clarity and heart-based clarity about what they're trying to accomplish. However, there is a couple of other stories going on with Mercury in a sextile to Mars. I mean, basically, I would say August 11th through to the 19th. There's a huge amount of back and forth in the house of foreign lands and shores and travel. And so there may be opportunities emerging in the life of a significant other or in your life for travel long distance or contracts and agreements and negotiations, actions and deals in the book publishing world. Another element of this could be a desire to move towards a deeper alignment of purpose. It may involve teaching, traveling, learning, pilgrimages, and decisions vis-a-vis the people you serve, the audience, the marketplace, or clients, or your partner has those same things going on. Mercury and Mars can bring commercial success. So there may be a legal contract that involves commercial success involving publishing, book publishing, teaching, learning, and traveling for you or your significant other. Your significant other or you, Mercury in the 7th house, squares Juno in a very precise way around the 3rd week of August. That time frame with Venus also in Leo is quite auspicious. Venus is bonifying everything, but there is a tension there. And you may need to make a critical turning point decision around you or your partner, career-based legal contracts, or marriage and legal marriage decisions. And that's important to note because Juno rules the goddess of marriage and committed marriage. And she's in the 10th house of the weddings and marriage. And Mercury's Mr. Contractual fine print. So there may be some kind of legal contracts involving a significant marriage type relationship that need to be ironed out in the last week of August. News and information coming from the 7th house is Mercury. Trust it after you get past this retrograde state, like August 11th to the 25th. Trust the information, the news, the communications coming from your audience, your clients, your business partners, your marketplace, and your significant other. It's clean, clear, heart-based, and direct communication. What you see is what you get, and it's trustworthy. With Mercury also flowing to the 3rd house and the 9th house stories, some of you are going to be traveling. Yes, you are. And if travel opportunities are emerging in August 11th to early September, they're going to open up some interesting, unexpected doors of opportunity. All right, especially the entrepreneurial and creative versions of Aquarius. Okay, from the power deck for you, by Lynn Andrews, let's see what, oh, not another virtue card. So you'll notice that in the weird way the cards repeat themselves, you've got Mars in the house of virtue, right? I'm defining truth, wisdom, and knowledge as virtuous. That's Mars there, talking to Mercury in your 7th house. There's the image again of virtue. Another sign had this just before and also had 9th house activation. So we're getting repeating cards, which means that I'm on my intuitive drawing game because that would make sense. Out of 45 cards, we keep repeating certain ones, shuffled each time. I want you to consider Aquarians, and I am one of you, rising. Virtue is one of the passive qualities of power, and when you pull back the bow, preparing to set the arrow and define your target, I think it was Sagittarius who had this, you use the strength, the will, and the focus that you have collected within that part of yourself called virtue. Virtue is where you find inner truth. Veritas, virtue, all connected. It's a place of illumination. And as that radiance grows within you, it becomes integrity. Without virtue, there's no inner balance. Virtue comes from the unknown, quiet things you do for the world and for other people. With each virtuous act, your spirit shield becomes stronger and more beautiful, integrating the symbols of your inner life. However, like the deer, these symbols tread softly. Virtue marks your path on the other side, and like the one who walks last, the virtuous person is in a position of power. Walk in beauty and virtue, as power often arrives quietly. Well, Mars is making decisions from the house of virtue, and he's working with Mercury's mind and intelligence in the house of other people, including the audience, including your significant other. So let's see what it looks like for us as we move into Mercury direct in an elemental fire space where he won't be again for another 7 years. Right? We went through this in 2017-18, 2024-25. Now we wait 7 years for this intensity in our 7th house to return. So there's very much similar vibes between the two. I use me as an example. I turned down a coaching opportunity when Mercury is retrograde from a former coach of mine. Coaches belong to the ninth house. And I leaned into my inner truth. And even more so now as Mercury goes direct, that will bring new opportunities that are more in alignment. So finally, we have the Pisces people with Mercury's transit through your sixth house in a long way seen in 2017, 18, like July, August. Again, here we are last summer and this summer of 25, elemental fire in the house of many things. You know, your sixth house has got a huge load of meaning. One is it's a house of duty and it's a house of work and the house of service. So it's your job, whether it's your home office or your office, it doesn't matter. And there's a lot of back and forth about the work, but it's also karmic debts and it's also dating house. So you may have been dating somebody from your past in this retrograde cycle that began on the 18th of July and closes out on August 11th. But you may also had to go back and revise and rethink things to do with your work protocols and your work habits and your health routines, situations involving animals and pets, and going back and rethinking, revising. Because we collect debt here, both karmic and physical, there is something about indebtedness, whether it's too much money on that credit card or it's the debts that you hold karmically to others. And Mercury's intensity here certainly can help you come to terms with strategies and ideas to deal with those debts, literal and metaphorical. With Mercury retrograde, maybe you heard from old colleagues, employers, and dated people you dated in your past, and they came back to you. Mercury entered into Leo around the 26th of June. Then around June 30th, he hit the 4-degree mark, which represents the pre-shadow. In essence, between June the 4th and July 18th, Mercury was ready to move forward in the work, pet, debt, dating, health matter situations. He had it down. He got it all figured out. He hit a roadblock. And then on July 18th through till now, August 11th, he had to go back and revise, rethink, redo, and remember something. It wasn't ready. He wasn't ready yet. Now he's doing, I'm ready. So August the 11th through to August the 25th, you're going to race through that post shadow and clean up the unfinished business. Now it could be time to get that pet, clear that debt, start dating that person after all, stop dating that person after all, get that job thing together after all, accept that job after all. Certainly with Jupiter and Venus sitting together in your fifth house, you're so lucky right now. And Jupiter rules your house of 10th house of career. So you have some kind of good fortune with lucky career breaks as well. If you want them, they're going to come. And you could say, yes, Mercury will be able to sign on career dotted lines for contractual agreements regarding work. And because he's sextiles Mars, and will be, like August 11th to 19th, long enduring rare sextile. Mars is in your 8th house, and this is money that doesn't belong to you directly. A sign-on bonus, a severance package, a tax rebate, an inheritance, a spousal support check, whatever. This kind of money is activated. And Mercury wants to pay off debts here, or what do you call it? Refinance, or what do you call it? If you need to declare bankruptcy, it's a good time to do it. Anytime when Mercury is moving here forward. August 11th through to early September, especially when Mercury comes into Venus contact end of the month, last week of August, there's a Venus ingress into Leo. And at the very same time, we see that the Venus and Mercury energy will come into a square to Juno. And Juno is about something you were thinking of getting off the ground to do with legalities and debt. Okay. Legalities and travel, commitments around book publishing deals, travel opportunities, debt elimination, and legal and court-like vibes, right? And this can also include spousal support and ends of marriages and inheritances as well. And so things that were kind of half-assed on the radar and you weren't sure about it back in the day, those first 18 days of July, now there's readiness. Now you have clarity. Now you're ready to figure out the paperwork on all of this stuff and making a commitment to marriage, because Juno's a marriage goddess in the house of churches. If you're dating somebody, maybe this is going to be where the plans are drawn up, the wedding date is set, the churches are booked, and that would make sense. And the money, the 8th house money, is shared monies with a significant other that you're also working on, agreements about the money you share with somebody else. Some Pisces are going to go through some grieving. This is the third sign for whom I picked this card. It doesn't surprise me because Mars sextiling the direct motion Mercury is on the asteroid Grieve. So Mars is in the house of death, and there is something or someone that you may need to grieve. Saturn is an elder in the house of family. There may be some grieving, literally, for a lot of Pisces, of an elder who's in the family. That's as best I can do with that story. It doesn't mean it's, think elder with Saturn. South Node in the marriage house. Some of you may be grieving an end of a relationship, end of a significant long-term love story. But Mars is literally talking to Saturn in the house of family. And I don't mean like my extended family. I mean like, your husband, your wife, your kids, the fam. So there could be some grief in the life of a family member. Maybe your spouse is having grief. That's another way of saying there's grieving going on with your spouse or something going on in their family. So I'm going to read that to you. But whatever it is, you're the third sign to have some grief because Mars, in his connection to grief, is talking to Mercury. And so there is something there to consider. And with Mercury in the house of pets, there may be indeed some grieving around an animal or a pet in your life. I'll read it for the last time. Grief deepens you, allowing you to explore the perimeters of your soul. Grief is the only gateway to certain levels of consciousness, and it is a hard taskmaster. Through grief, you can explore every aspect of your dark side: anger, pain, abandonment, terror, and loneliness. Aspects of the sacred wound that we usually try to ignore in our daily lives. Grief forces you to acknowledge those parts of yourself that are not yet healed. If you can look at grief as a teaching, you will grow. If you can look at grief with awareness and an open heart, it is one of the greatest teachers of all. The seeds of wisdom and enlightenment are planted within the wounds of grief. What is lost can come back to us again in higher ways. Okay, well, I should have expected that with asteroid Grieve tracking with Mars and Mars sextiling direct motion Mercury until the 19th of August or so, that this would be a story. I think it's the 19th of August. I didn't remember, my brain won't remember, but I think it's even up until that long. Since I'm now telling you about it, let me just go ahead and double check how long those two keep tracking with each other in a kind of tighter connection, basically, right? Oh, they're just going on and on together. Hang on. Looks like they're within orb of each other, even on the 19th of August. Goodness gracious. They start to break away on the 20th. 19th, 20th. Yeah, through to about the 19th and 20th. So we're all under this grief spell between Mercury and Mars. So there you go. This is usually where I do an outro and I share something with you guys and something I'm experiencing, or I want to teach you some astrology. So let's see what comes to mind at this time. I talk about astrocartography. I'm not an astrocartography expert. A few of them I would recommend. One of them would be Helena Woods. She has a course on that and she has a YouTube channel. However, I have enough knowledge of astrocartography in my own life and the lives of clients, and I can use the software to talk about it. And I want to mention it to you guys because I want to talk about lines, right? In Vancouver, I'm with a Jupiter and a bit of a Venus line, mostly Venus. And I love my wine. I love my pleasure. And it activates my natal Venus in Taurus. And she's on Dionysius, the goddess of the wine, god of the wine and the fermented grape, right? So I come by. I love a wine in Vancouver naturally, right? Anytime I'm here, it's going to be like the Pacific coast, give me the wine, right? North Pacific coast. And it goes a little bit towards the east as well. But I noticed that there's something called your Neptune line, and I have two of them. One of them is in Troncones, Mexico, and the other one, like most exact, and the other Neptune activation is in India and through Pakistan. And I almost moved to India for 2 years, ages ago, Pakistan actually, when my husband was at the United Nations, first husband, father of my kids, but we didn't do the move. But what I want to say is that I had a dream last night about India. I was in Varanasi, and I've never been to India, and I even knew exactly where I was on the Ganges, Ganges, the river Ganges, how you say, because I'm not even into it. I don't want a guru. I don't want to go to India. I never desired to go to India. I always had an aversion to going to India, but I have a Neptune line. And in my dream, I was there. And I was also at that famous mountain, Arunchala, however you say it. So I was in both of those places last night. And I said to myself when I woke up, that's my Neptune line. It's my enlightenment planet. Neptune rules enlightenment. In the dark side of Neptune, illusion, delusion, don't drink the Kool-Aid, and watch out for false gurus. And the upside, it is vast, spacious, oceanic compassion, awareness, oneness, unity, consciousness. And I've always been on an enlightenment path. You can go Google Lori Lothy and the Awakened Dreamer blog and read about my enlightenment stories and or spiritual awakening stories. And so my outro is to pay attention to your astrocartography lines. No, do not ignore them. I don't even know enough to say I'll teach you guys a class on it. I know enough to know what I'm doing and enough to know I don't know enough. You know, there's something called parans that I sort of pay attention to. There's something about certain latitude lines, you know, I don't really know enough to speak on confidently, etc. But what I would say in my little outro is pay attention to your astrocartography lines. People ask questions like, if I do a solar return chart on my Jupiter line, will that make my life better during my solar return chart? You know, the age, the birthday chart. No, it can amplify another layer of goodness on top of it, like an onion skin. But the fundamental ancient tradition of solar revolutions or solar returns is to keep the birth chart relative to your birthplace, not to where you live now. A secondary chart is the relocated solar return for an extra layer of meaning. So you can't just say, I'm going to have my birthday on my Jupiter line or something, or my North Node Jupiter or something like that, or Jupiter culminating at the top of the sky. And everything about my year and my age will be much better than my birth chart location. It's not going to uproot the natal solar return place of birth. It won't work that way, but it does give you a nice overlay, you know? So anyway, if anyone's ever had dreams about places and they've gone there afterwards, I have. A lot of times I'll dream about a place and then I will end up there. I also dream about names of people I will meet. My second husband's name was Fergus, a direct short for Ferguson, but he was called Fergus. And I dreamt about a Ferguson on a phone call a year and a half before I met him in the context of a guy I know, Keith, in the dream. And Keith brought Fergus to my party. It was Halloween 2008. And he looked at him. I said, oh my God, you're Fergus from my dream. I always dream in the names of men and long-term relationships I'm going to meet 8 out of 10 times. So my second husband, I had that dream. So I just wanted to share some cool stuff. But I think about the astrocartography lines matter. You know, a Venus line brings me a love of pleasure, joy, and sensual delights in life. And it's not always a good place to live when you have Dionysius on Venus. And, you know, if I was to move to, I did when I lived in Montreal, Canada, for 2.5 years, I was on a very strong Saturn line, which was working hard, but I had some Jupiter and North Node. And that's how I built this business during the pandemic. And 2019, 20 into 21, I built this channel and I was working hard, Saturn, Jupiter, and North Node energies in Montreal, Canada. So it served its time and its purpose. You see what I'm saying? So I just playfully just throwing out that if you have any great astrocartography stories about moving to a line and saying, oh my God, I moved to my Pluto line and it was awful. I moved to my Mars line and then I was fighting with everyone. I moved on to a place where I had a prominent, and when I say line, I mean like on the angles. Is Mars going to culminate or be on the 4th house or in the 7th house? It's when the planets get angular that we pay attention to where we're living in the relocated chart. All right, just a thought. I didn't know what I was going to talk about, but since I dreamt about Neptune night before last and India, no, I know that India is my Neptune line. So as soon as I dreamt about it, I woke up and said, I'm subconsciously wanting to get into a Neptune space in my life. Does it require travel or can I do it from the armchair? Maybe the armchair. Now, holy man, I'm taking a nap. I'm going to bed. It's only 4:55 in the afternoon on a noisy Friday, August the 8th, and I am ready to sleep. Please, this is a long video. I gave you a lot of my heart and soul. Like and subscribe. Monday's video, readdressing the Jupiter-Venus conjunction with this dog star Sirius, covering some minor asteroids and some things I didn't talk about in my longer video pinned to my channel. This is what has not happened since 2001 in this exact same way. But it also replicates 2001 and 2002 through to 2003, that 2-year window of time where we had Jupiter co-joining Venus in Cancer. So we missed a beat. We didn't get it 12 years ago. And so we're really kind of picking up and making up for lost time. And it's going to be an initiation of fortune and good luck in your Cancer whole sign house that lasts 2 years. It goes for 1 year, it resets again next summer, and it goes for another year. So my next video is going to bring in some minor asteroid stories. Also, I'm going to talk about something I'm really pondering, which is Venus is in her descent. And this kind of Venus quality that she has right now is really relevant to how this plays out. And I'm going to credit Gary Caton for this, and also Gary Caton's observation that the Venus-Jupiter energy replicates the Wheel of Fortune in the tarot, and it's about fated and destined turning points as well. I'll be explaining that to you in the video for the Monday week ahead story, because this Venus-Jupiter conjunction on the 12th of August is so important and it's so positive. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you don't mind helping my channel thrive. I would appreciate it. Take care.